Hey everybody, I'm Andy Weinberg, and welcome to episode 83 of the David Alsikinen in the Pocket podcast.
Whose number is that?
Vince Papale.
Interesting. I saw Vince last Friday. I played bingo. I played bingo with Vince.
Get out of here. You just played bingo with Vince Papale?
Yeah, well, I play what they call pandemic bingo every Friday when I can. It's with a group around the world. I mean, the Rolling Stones tour accountant plays. Jackson Brown's tour production manager. My wife plays. A group of people that do it to, help do, good things. So for an hour and a half on a Friday night, I play bingo.
And Vince Papale was
and
there.
Vince was our guest last week.
Oh, okay. Is this high stakes bingo, or it's all for charity, or what?
Yeah. I think it's to because every week, we find out, because we've played with people. One week we had somebody from Chernobyl. There's always a theme to it. Last week, because of the Super Bowl, Vince came, and Vince was down in Jupiter, Florida, and he joined us. We all do it via Zoom, and it's a big group. And Vince was great. Vince, talked a little bit about Dick Vermeil and the whole thing. And
well, that's perfect that this is episode 83 then, in
yeah,
honor of
indeed.
Vince Papale.
Yeah, that's a wild coincidence, but I didn't even think about it. But he was a very sweet guy. I think I met him one other time through Croce, but he's just a terrific guy.
Very cool. Well, as I said, it's episode 83 of the David Alsikinen in the Pocket podcast. As always, we're here at the Wildfire Radio studio in beautiful Woodbury, New Jersey. Taylor on the other side of the glass doing a great job, as always.
Taylor.
We have a great guest this week. His name is Greg Sover. If you don't know him, you need to, because he's an incredibly talented singer-songwriter, and what a guitarist. Great singer, as I said. We're going to be talking to Greg in just a minute. He's home in Glenside. He's on the line with us, and we'll be with Greg, as I said, in just a minute. But first, I do want to thank our sponsors. Dave, as always, we're brought to you by Croker Percussion, our great friend of the show, Eric Metz.
Good stuff.
They're dedicated to creating quality, handcrafted percussion instruments with superior sound quality and unmatched craftsmanship. You can see all of Eric's merchandise at crokerpercussion.com. That's CROAKER percussion.com, or give him a call, 215-669-8588 for the drummer in your life. You got to check out some of this stuff and go shopping at Croker Percussion.
They got shakers, and they got a bunch of stuff. I mean, it's not even drummers. I mean, musicians that need like a little groove going on, do they have stuff?
Yeah, anything with a little, right, any percussion instrument, you can find it there.
The best.
And also, we're brought to you again by our friends at the School of Rock Main Line in Berwyn, Pennsylvania, taking young children and molding them into fine musicians, and some of them will grow up and become legit rock stars. Right. But in the meantime, they'll feel like rock stars.
And we know that, too, because we've had a few on the show.
We've had a few alumni. Yeah.
I got a great email this morning from a mother of one of my students, Hudson Miller, great drummer. And he was in the Who show last week. And I remember she came. I got a thing when I'm giving lessons, like, I have my system, the way I do it. And the mother was like, sometimes parents tend to say, like, I don't know about the way you like. She was like, get out of here. I mean, I'm nice to him, but I have an idea. And then she wrote me the nicest email about how her son is just doing great. He's doing a songwriting class, and he's joining a prog rock
very cool.
class thing. But for a teacher, it was great getting in that. And at the same time, the program, you just see how they start interacting, especially at this time. This time with COVID and everything going on, I think it's been a really nice deal. Where you get the social thing going on with other musicians that I had growing up, and now because of what's going on, they don't get that. They're playing via Zoom or whatever they're using, and it's not the same.
Well, that's awesome, Dave, that you got this nice note from the mom. So kids, or parents, if you have kids out there that want to be drummers and you want to have Dave as an instructor, or any instrument, because Wally Smith on keyboards, and any instrument, obviously they'll teach you there at School of Rock.
Look up Dave and Rick.
Yep. So give them a call, 610-647-2900, or check them out online, schoolofrock.com. They're all over the world, but we're talking specifically about the one in Berwyn, Pennsylvania. That'll be the mainline Philadelphia location. All right, Dave, as I said, we have on the line a incredibly talented musician. He's got a new EP came out just a few months back called The Parade. Great stuff. His name is Greg Sover. Greg, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
We're doing well. We're very excited to have you on.
Yeah.
Greg, I know you played with Dave. Dave was telling me that you guys did some stuff together not too long ago, right?
Yeah, I had an awesome time playing with them with Crosstown Traffic at the Ardmore Music Hall, and I want to say we did something with Laura Mann not too long ago, probably last year, 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think actually, I think that might have been probably somebody else at the Crosstown Traffic show, but we played together when we did the Laura Mann, because Wally and I played together doing other stuff, but I remember because there wasn't a lot of rehearsing for the Laura Mann show. I mean, we got together with the rhythm section and some people to learn her tunes, and I remember you played, and I thought, wow, this guy's really great, you know, because when you're flying by the seat of your pants and doing something where you haven't, because I think what we did a sound check, and we played, and we said, okay, here's my tune, or did we play your tune, or was it one of her tunes? Do you recall what
it was? It was one of her tunes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember getting together one time, and we had a sound check, of course,
yeah,
and that was it.
Yeah.
We went in and did an awesome thing.
Yeah,
it came out like we were practicing for a long time.
Yeah, that's when you know somebody's really good, because I was you know, I'm always in the back, and I'm playing, and I notice, you know, people get on stage, they either take command or they don't, and you did. And then you played great. You looked great, and even my wife commented after the show. She said that Greg Sover is really great. So I took notice and been checking you out ever since. And I believe we're mutual friends with somebody who hit me to you before, a guy named Biff Kennedy, and Helen Light as well. Were people that have talked about you being really somebody to look out for. So obviously you're doing all the right things and having a great time doing it, right?
Oh yes, you know, big thank you to Biff and Helen. They've been supporting us since day one, tell you the truth. So the love we're getting from them is definitely appreciated, and you know, I can't thank them enough.
Yeah, it's sweet. You need support like that. You know, when you're so early on, especially when it comes from people that have you know, that are really the tastemakers of this community. You know, I you know, just I always look back to my experience with the Hooters coming up. Like, there were certain DJs or people that had the ear of the community, that, you know, when they saw, oh, you got to check out this band, you got to see this band, or better yet, when they can even play you on the radio, which back in the day, still it's important if you can get radio now, but back in the day, where there wasn't an internet, there, you know, we were promoting shows by putting flyers on a pole or a wall. That was it. And then when you could get radio, it was a big deal. So I mean, so it's great that you're working it, and you have that kind of support, and I know how important it is, and it's terrific that it seems like it just keeps on moving the right direction.
Yes. I've been very fortunate. You know, you can't do this by yourself. It's definitely a team. It's definitely a team effort, from the music being played, and you know, the marketing, of course. And so I'm definitely appreciative of the team. So I just can't take the credit for myself. You know, I had to give a big deal to the team.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, that's well said, but obviously the talent has to be there, and you certainly have that. Let's jump right into the parade. Obviously, 2020 was a effed up year for everybody with the virus. Was your plans for that EP, were it affected or changed by the virus? I mean, had you already been planning to record this year, or how'd that come about?
2019 we started, and the plan for the EP, it was supposed to be a full length album, but we were able to record probably 3 songs by the end of 2019, but by 2020, in the beginning of the year, it was just chaotic. So I remember saying, you know, it's very important to release some music this year and not let this affect us too much. Right. So we were able to social distance in the studio for about 2-3 more songs, and put the package together, and we were able to release by October. So it was very important to release something by 2020, despite what was going on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wonderful to hear that you were determined to do that. It's interesting because I've noticed that y- y- as a drag, as much of a drag as the COVID coronavirus has been, it's brought out, especially with artists, a lot of creativity. It's really been. You can't hold that back. That's like like a dam that's broken open. It's like, okay, tell us we can't do something and we got to do it. And
Oh yeah.
it's really for me. I just love seeing that, and the fact that people are still doing what they have to do to get music out there and finding new ways to get music out there. I feel bad for some of the guys. I have a friend of mine who is he's actually a friend of Biff's too, Bob Law, who is a radio promotions guy, does terrestrial radio, and he was telling me that there's so many releases right now, like so many people like vying for those little positions right now to get played around the world, or the United States. Basically, he works, but it's very difficult because there's so much content out there. Which he's the one that hit me to the fact that there really is people are locked away. So if you have, how many people have studios in their houses now doing what they have to do to record, and I mean, we all miss getting together at the studio in town or whatever, doing that. But for those that have that kind of DAW at home that we can do it, boom, a lot of creative stuff is coming.
Yes, yes, and probably more, right? Because when you're I notice obstacles always bring the best out of you.
Yeah.
So yes, I've been able to, and I still able to write new songs and really tweak them before you send them out and things like that. Yeah. So it does have its advantages.
Right.
I got
it. It's yeah. I'm sorry.
No. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Greg. I do want to ask you about the again, getting back to the recording of the parade. Now, it was produced by your bass player Gary Lee and also Mike Tarzia, who I don't know Mike personally, but I'm friends with him on Facebook, and the guy he likes to be provocative on Facebook. And
his father's an absolute legend.
Yeah, legend, right?
His father.
I'm just curious what it was like working with Mike, because he seems like a character.
Oh man, Mike is he's even funnier in person. He's a very funny guy, but Mike brings a certain energy that I guess people around him gets as well. So he brought the fun. He brought this fun. He brought this light to this whole project, to where everybody was playing their hearts out, and he brought that energy out of everyone.
That's
so
great.
Mike Tarzia, big shout out to him. He's a real good guy.
That's a little old school in the sense that producers. Rick Chernoff used to always say, like, it's a great producer is almost like a pickpocket. You don't even realize they're producing you. You're having so much fun that, like, when you're making a record, sometimes it gets to be work. But when you have a producer that creates an environment where it's just a great time, afterwards, it's so much fun that like some people forget that they were produced, and that's a method. That's a method that some of these studios, like Mike, I'm sure has. I never worked with Mike in that capacity, but these guys, have this philosophy that they're going to go in, they're going to make it loose for the musicians and motivate them in a certain way to go out and do what they need to do. Did you go to his studio and record, or what did you do?
Yeah, we actually worked at the studio that's in Germantown. It's actually above they sell material like for clothing and stuff. It's like it's a sneaky little place, and I believe that's where the grit on the album came from. Cool. It was in the heart of Philly.
Yeah.
And then there was some other studio. We went to a studio in New Jersey. I can't.
Was it Gradwell?
It's great. Hopefully I'm not saying the wrong name. So please don't get me in trouble, guys. Grace. I forget the name, but they were a real cool studio as well. We went there to finish the last two songs, but majority of it was in Germantown.
Yeah. Well, it's good.
And that's not too far from where you grew up, right? I mean, you moved to Mount Airy section of Philly when you were like 5-6 years old, right, from Brooklyn?
Yeah, from Brooklyn. Yep. When I moved here, I remember Mike Tyson, his first loss. That was the big deal. That was the
You're
big thing.
boxing.
That
Are
was
you a
cool.
boxing fan? Are you a boxing
Oh,
fan?
huge boxing.
Me too.
Huge
That's great. And so
boxing fan.
Andy is. And
Yeah.
I mean, we're both sports guys. You know, and being from Philly, I mean, you know, Smoker Joe, and we had so many great fighters here, Meldrick Taylor, and you know,
Yes.
people like that. Meldrick was a buddy of mine, so I was at Johnny Bumpus as well. So these were guys that were like, that's so cool that you're into that, man. I love that. That's cool.
Yeah. On a side note, I was supposed to be in in Smoking Joe's band.
Really?
Yeah, I was supposed to be a guitarist in the band, but you know things didn't. I don't know what happened, but I remember auditioning at his.
Wow, that'd be cool.
Wait, is that
His
common
boxing
knowledge?
ring.
Yeah, could you imagine
I
like
didn't
screwing
know-
up in Joe's band and you had to have like an
Wait,
argument?
I didn't.
with
Is
Joe
that common
Kicker?
knowledge that Joe Frazier had a band? I didn't know that.
I do recall.
I didn't know that.
I recall that. I do recall.
Yeah,
that.
vaguely.
Yeah.
And it was I remember auditioning at his you know, he had a boxing gym in North Philly.
Right.
And
I know where that
remember
was.
going in,
Yeah.
And I remember seeing the ring, and I'm here with my guitar playing in front of this boxing ring.
Wow,
and
you were in
Oh,
there.
wow.
I used to go to the
I was
window.
in there.
Wait, was Joe in the band? Did he play? Did he sing?
Oh,
or
sang.
Did he sing?
No, he didn't. He just, you know, he just kind of was looking at the musicians. He wasn't really like
Oh,
singing.
so he didn't sing. I see.
Okay.
I always thought that he was like a part of the group, like he wanted to sing. So he basically put the Joe Frazier band together. That was like, I get it. Okay,
How
I
old,
see it.
Greg? How old were you when you auditioned for that?
I was probably 21. I think I was about 21.
Wow.
Oh,
How
wow.
cool.
That must have been a
Yeah.
but you didn't.
It was a great experience.
Yeah.
Meeting Joe.
Right.
You know, I watched Joe
Yeah.
growing up.
Yeah.
And you know, bigger other than his Muhammad Ali fights, Joe was it was like looking at I'm here in front of
Oh.
Joe Frazier.
Oh.
I was amazed by that alone.
Me
so.
too. Me too. I saw him too. Was it Matthew Saad Muhammad spent a lot of time in his gym too? Do you remember?
wow.
Do you remember? I don't know. He was a great fighter, but what's his name? Hopkins. You know,
yeah.
Hopkins,
Bernard,
guy-
yeah, sure.
Bernard Hopkins. But
Yes.
Joe, when you were around Joe, like I saw Joe like right before, like shortly after he passed away, but he still looked like he could just, you know, his hands were massive. Do you remember his hands?
Yes, his
Yeah,
hands were
like-
very, very big hands.
Yeah.
I remember saying, I don't want to get punched by that.
I know. Oh man.
So if you screw up the auditions, he gonna punch you? Is that what happened?
He was a gracious, really nice guy. I remember he was
Yes,
just
really
super
nice
cool,
guy,
yeah.
and also funny. Another
Yeah.
funny guy. Very,
Yeah.
very funny.
Wow, that is fascinating that you did. So it didn't work out though. You ended up not doing that gig.
Yes, ended up not doing it, and nothing. I think we might have lost contact. It wasn't anything bad or anything like that. It was just contact. I think they were looking for me and they lost my contact or something like that. But it's something I wish I kept in contact with him and I was able to do that.
Wow, how cool.
Yeah.
So you've been
But, very, very, very nice guy. Very
Yeah,
nice guy.
yeah.
Very funny. I
Yeah.
have to add the funny. That's how
Right.
funny
Yeah.
he was.
Yeah.
that's very cool.
Yeah.
So obviously at 21 years old, you're been playing guitar for a while. If you were at a place where you could audition for Joe's band, how young were you when you first picked up the guitar?
Well, my dad always played the guitar, and I was a big fan of it through him. I remember looking at a guitar, probably about 3-4 years old, and I looked at this guitar as a woman, as a beautiful woman.
yeah.
Wow, what is this thing?
Yeah.
And my dad was a pretty good guitarist, so my dad seen me so interested that my first guitar was actually when I was 5 years old.
There you
Oh,
go.
And
wow.
I never stopped. It's I want to master this and become really, really good at this ever since.
Mm. Well, you had a great groove. I remember you. Well, that was one thing that when we played, I still remember that it felt things should feel like very easy, like you're breathing. You know, when you're
Yes.
on stage, you should never feel forced. And I remember up there playing with you.
Well,
that even though
let's
it was
hear
great.
a little of Greg's
Yeah,
work,
yeah.
and then I want to get back to your dad because your dad was a Haitian immigrant, correct?
Yes.
Right,
yes.
which is something you have in common with Dave. Not Dave was also a first-generation American. His parents were born in Finland and moved over here
Yeah.
when Dave was before you were born, right, Dave? Or
No, I was born in this country.
You were
but
right. I'm saying they
but-
moved.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but we all learned to speak English together.
Right. So you would, yeah. You,
Same here.
yeah.
Same here.
So let's we'll get to that, but first let's hear a little of Greg's work. This is "Wake Up" from his new album, The Parade, and it really rocks. So this will wake you up if you're not already.
really like. Wake up!
Man, that's great. That's some shredding right there. That's really nice playing. You know,
It's
like,
a lot.
not. It's like not really thought out, and I love it. You can hear the emotion, but when I say shredding, sometimes you guys shred, you guys shredding, and it's like it's mindless. That sounded like you thought about what you were doing, and then you went in and just like made it happen. That's beautiful, man. Great playing.
Thanks a lot.
Very,
Thanks a
very
lot.
nice.
Yeah, I try. The main thing is to keep the guitar as part of the music as it can. As much as I want to shred all over the place, it's really it's really about keeping the listener engaged.
Yeah.
And there's different emotions and things like that. So I appreciate you telling me that. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, it's great. And we should mention the band, too. We mentioned Gary Lee on bass, Alan James on guitar, Tom Walling on drums, and our friend Wally Smith
Wally played
played keyboards on that as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes,
Wonderful.
yes. The organs you hear, that's Wally Smith. Wally, what can I say about Wally? Wally is one of the most talented musicians I've ever heard.
Yeah,
He's amazing.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, Dave obviously plays with Wally a lot with Smash Palace and In the Pocket. And
Wonderful player.
Hey, I should mention that you can find all Greg's music at his website, gregsover.com, or on social media. I know you're on Instagram and Twitter, but gregsover.com. The Parade is the name of the EP. He's also got a couple other albums out, Songs of a Renegade and Jubilee. So if you like what you hear, and we'll play a little more from Greg later, please check it out because it's great stuff.
I love the style. Yeah,
Yeah,
really, really, really good.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
like it. Yeah. Very
So
nice.
we were talking before we went into that just about your father and being a first-generation American. So I was listening to an interview you did on another podcast, Greg, and you were saying how, I mean, it was pretty much all Haitian music in the house when you were growing up, right? I mean, it was, am I pronouncing this right? Compa? Is that how you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Compa.
Yeah,
Yes.
compa.
Definitely good. Yeah. Compa was the main genre, which is one of the native genres in Haiti. I remember the first English speaking song was Bob Marley, "Stand Up, Get Up."
Yeah. Yeah.
But Dave, we actually have a little more of a connection because the first American song I probably ever heard was Cyndi Lauper's "Time After Time."
Andy was telling me that. How about that?
Yes.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and
Isn't that a great
ever
song?
since then,
Yeah.
great song.
Yeah.
Still to this day, it's a great song. And still to this day, I try to mimic those guitars that you hear in the beginning there as much as I can. So I have to give a big thank you to you guys and Cyndi Lauper, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just actually had Rob Hyman on our guest last episode, and he of course co-wrote the song and played on it. And
Wow.
so
Brilliant,
that's a pretty good. So was that your dad had bought that record, or you went out and bought it, or how did you?
Yeah, no, my dad bought it. I remember my dad buying it, and I don't know if you remember these stereos with the record player with the big speakers on the side.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, my dad played that album so much,
Yeah.
and I enjoyed it because it was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah. It was a
compared to
great
what we were
sounding
listening
record
to.
too. I remember Rob was talking about last week. When after it was finished, that it was like all over the place. But now it doesn't seem like it was all over the place because when you start digesting it, it seems to make sense. But when he was working on it, he felt like it was all over the place. But I remember it just always sounding like a fresh sound. Like then it becomes a normal sound. I don't know if you hear like when you hear something. I remember, I guess I had a feeling certain records, a Black Keys record I heard, I remember thinking, oh, that's an interesting lo-fi sound. And then all of a sudden that becomes the sound. It's interesting that And I remember, like, I had a friend of mine when I was growing up, Richard Harmon in Mill Creek. He had a stereo, the stereo you're talking about. Two friends of mine had this great stereo, and we'd skip school, and we'd go to the house, and we would wait till the parents left for work, and then we'd get in the house, and we would listen to Beatle records or Stones records. But I remember having that stereo, and that was it. It's like, well, we got to party in that room because that's where we have the good stereo. It was like, oh yeah, man. And Rich had a drum set too. He had a drum set too. This great Ludwig kid that we'd all play on. But man, the stereo was just amazing. You know, that was the shit when you had that going on. You know, good stereo.
It was big sound.
Yeah.
And you didn't want to use the little tape decks and things like that. It was about that stereo. I need to put this in that stereo. How does it sound in this stereo?
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome.
Greg, you talked about the Haitian music and Bob Marley, and then liking that Cyndi Lauper record. When did you kind of discover, obviously, guys who influenced you like Jimi Hendrix, Stevie Ray Vaughan? I mean, obviously, these guitar legends that obviously have affected your career. When did you kind of stumble upon that?
Well, I would say around my early teens. I remember hearing Purple Haze for the first time, and I just could not get that. I just could not get the riff, the intro from the bum 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 bum. I just could not get that out of my head. Yeah. And then right around the corner would be Stevie Ray Vaughan. I remember somebody introducing me to Stevie Ray Vaughan the first time on VHS. And it was a show from Austin City Limits. He did. I think that was in '83.
Yeah. No, it was that was 85.
Dave's got a story for you, Greg, because Dave and Stevie Ray were buddies.
I was with him. I was with him that day that he did that because he was. The Hooters were playing in Dallas. We were playing at the the Starwood Amphitheater thing, and Stevie and myself and a friend of ours named Billy Alford, we were all mutual friends, and we were on the road for maybe, I don't know, a long time, 10 months or something like that, and I was feeling a little squirrely, and Billy surprised me, knocked on my door at my hotel room in the morning. It was like 10:30 in the morning, on a godly hour when you're touring because you got on the bus, and I was like sleeping. Knocks on the door. I go to the door, and it's Billy and Stevie Ray Vaughan at my door. And Billy said, "Hey, Stevie's got a Grand Am." This is in Dallas that day, and I got dressed, and we're hanging out. So, but I knew Stevie from a few years back because in 1982, the Hooters played. Believe it or not, the Hooters and Stevie. It's the weirdest bill in the world, but we played a show. I remember we played at the Wax Museum. So Stevie and I, being that we were kind of into some surly stuff back in the day, we partied that night, and he was a Bogart, that guy. But I remember he was a great guy to hang with if you were into the same thing. And then and then he came, and then he cleaned up his life, as did I. And he came, we hung out, and he had this great green Grand Am, Pontiac Grand Am that we rode around in all day. And I remember coming back, and Stevie was wearing a Jeff cap that day. And of course I said, "Stevie, you gonna come to the show tonight?" He said, "No, I got a gig tonight. I'm doing this Austin City Limits thing tonight, so I'm gonna get on a plane and I'm gonna fly. I'm gonna do this gig." I said, "Cool, man. I get it, And but I remember coming back, and Rob Hyman said, "Hey, you're walking out of the hotel with this guy that looked just like Stevie Ray Vaughan." I said, "Rob, it was Stevie Ray Vaughan." I said, "Remember that night at the Wax Museum? We connected." But he was like, he was such a thoughtful guy that, he felt that, like he was always reaching out to other people that he thought that might go off the ledge. And at the time, I was like really kind of having should I get loaded tonight or not? There was a period in my life, especially when I first stopped doing that stuff. He was very encouraging to me. And of course, Andy and I were talking when Stevie lost his life. It was like the most tragic thing because he was always 4 years of keeping his life together, and he got a beautiful girlfriend who was about to marry, and that plane crash happened. And boy, what a terrific, like that guy did a 180 in his life. An amazing human being that would do something for this like drummer from Philly, just hang. But man, it's cool that you were inspired by his greatness.
Yes. Stevie Ray Vaughan one of the best guitarists I've ever
Yeah.
heard. Still to this day, I still listen to Stevie Ray Vaughan and
Yeah.
say to myself, how does he do this?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, totally.
So
amazing.
when you heard guys like Jimmy and Stevie Ray, I mean, did you this is incredible. I'm going to try to do this. I mean, because it's obviously no one's going to do it like they did, but clearly you were inspired to explore that genre of music from guys like that and other blues rock legends.
I think he knew. I think I know when when you play like Greg, I got a feeling that's been in his soul since. Like obviously his dad played, right? Right?
Yes. Yeah, my dad played the compas style more than anything. When it came to Jimi Hendrix, Stevie Ray Vaughan were probably the first that introduced me to that style of playing.
Yeah.
And I can't forget the big country music influence I had as well. And
cool.
hearing great guitarists play. There was the Vince Gills. There was Dwight Yoakams. The Dwight Yoakams was my favorite. He had a guitarist named Pete Anderson.
Amazing.
That I was a big fan of.
Yeah.
So I knew I always wanted to become a slinger, so to speak. But those guys, Jimmy and Stevie Ray Vaughan, probably put the stamp, and I said, okay, this is really what I'm going to try my best to become this, and learn their songs, of course. But and it just fueled me to become that, especially keeping the blues alive and things like that. The blues rock and live instruments by themselves, trying to keep that whole live music thing alive. So
that's so important.
It was just always it was always my goal. It was always my goal.
So before you began recording, as a legit thing, did you have a band as teenagers where you would play this stuff as a teenager, or did that come later?
That came a little later. I grew up in a very hip hop R&B neighborhood, so I was kind of the only person doing what I was doing. I used to tell people I love country music, and I used to get laughed at.
Right. Hey, yeah. I know. I think we all got that, right? Yeah.
So I guess you could say I stayed true to myself, and I do respect and love the hip hop and R&B, but I wanted to become a really good guitarist, so I stuck to the country music, the Jimi Hendrix, the Stevie Ray Vaughns the most, and there's also the B.B. Kings. I can't forget all the Kings. And
right.
Freddie King. Yeah. Freddie King, who's probably
Albert.
my favorite King. Albert, of course.
Yeah.
Albert. So I was always influenced by the people who played musical instruments, especially guitar, of course.
Right.
So did you feel like not an outcast, but a little different from your friends because you were into music that they weren't? I mean, did they kind of joke around with you? Why are you listening to that? I mean, was there any of that going on? Because you know how kids can be. I mean.
Yes. Well, believe it or not, I think when I was in elementary school was probably when I got the most laughed at because of the music I listened to. But by high school, all my friends, I guess they were a bit more open-minded, and not that they knew the music already, but they were definitely interested after I spoke about it. So, and a lot of them who are still my friends now still remember the conversations and probably went further in finding out other people that they like themselves. So either way, it was in high school. It was okay to be who you were in high school.
Right. I just love that you mentioned Pete Anderson, man. It's like that.
Oh, Pete Anderson.
Yeah,
oh man, one of the best.
Yeah.
I could give you. There's things. There's the Fastest You. There's Guitar Cadillac.
Yeah. Just great.
There's so many great.
Right.
Look Here, Little Sister. So many great guitar parts that he came up with.
He produced the Tommy Conwell record. He did one of Tommy's records. Yeah. He the one with when I was 17.
Guitar Trouble.
Guitar Trouble. He did that record, and Tommy and him got really tight. And Rob Miller, of course, because Rob's a genius, and other geniuses kind of connect, So it was like they were, he did Tommy's record, man. So awesome that you listened to him and that influenced you.
Very broad. I love all music. I love it all the same. And there's so many influences from each kind of music. Every song has its own thing.
Yeah.
So I'll just always respect music. I came out the womb loving music.
I love hearing that. That's true. I got to think like the longer I'm on this earth, the more I believe that there are certain things that this is what you're going to do. I mean, even if like I don't know how much you've delved into even like when COVID happened, I picked up a trumpet, and if people were like, "What, are you fucking nuts?" And I'm like picking up the trumpet because when I was a kid, I wanted to play the trumpet, and I thought I broke the trumpet, and I never went back to playing, and I only had like 2 months with it, and now like I'm playing the thing, and I think it's just that we learn, like you play your guitar probably all the time, right? You play your guitar, you all got it in your hand, and then you start learning how do I get better at any instrument. And so if you use the philosophy you did, like learning guitar, pick up another instrument and you have an ear, things start happening. You go through that horrible period where it's like, oh God, I can't hear that.
Yes.
But
yes, to your point, that's me with the piano. When we were in the when it was the quarantine, it was me and the piano,
awesome,
along with the guitar. So I've been trying to become a very good piano player.
Fantastic.
And it's on its way. It's
on
its way.
I bet.
That's cool.
I bet.
It's been fun.
Yeah, I bet, man. Do you ever sit on a drum kit?
Oh, yes.
Awesome.
Yes. Growing up in church especially, I definitely had to play the drums to let some steam out. So I always give it to drum players because, you're using like your whole body and everything got to be in rhythm. Yeah. So and it feels like it's one of the best ways to get the frustration out. So my problem was I beat on the drums a little too hard. So I had to learn how to back down.
Right.
But I love the drums. I love the drums.
Yeah, cool. I'm glad to hear that. That's cool.
Hey, let's talk about a few more of the highlights of the Greg Sover Band. You guys got to go out to Memphis a couple times, 2 years in a row, in 2018, 2019 for the International Blues Challenge. And I know you did pretty well both years. Right. You reached the semifinals. That must have been, I imagine, just music everywhere. I mean, just everywhere you look, there's just music and bands. And so when you're not playing, you can check bands out. That must have been a pretty cool experience, right?
Yes, it was a great experience. As soon as we touched down, there was music being played. You could not go to – so we were on Bill Street, and you could not go – anywhere without hearing some music, right. and that's one block. That was like a one block.
I've been there. I played there. Yeah.
It made a lot of friends at the same time, and I'm really proud of that because with the blues music that we play, it's coloring outside the lines. So it's not the traditional blues that we all know. Right. So the fact that I was able to make it to the semis, I was pretty happy with what we did as a team. We were accepted, and we were so different compared to everybody else.
Greg, let me ask you, are you guys, as far as your distribution, are you an independent, or do you work with a label, or how are you guys doing that kind of stuff, your business stuff? Because there's a lot of bands, right? I mean, look at Joe Bonamassa. He's a total independent, and he's created, like, he's even got they don't even book through the traditional booking agents anymore. So do you have a label that you're working with, or what's the deal with that?
Well, me and my manager and I, we have our own labels called Grounded Souls Records. So everything's been through that.
Excellent.
And I highly recommend people to kind of go that, kind of check that route out a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it's in your hands. Everything is in your hands. But don't forget the disc makers and things like that.
Yeah.
It's still putting a team together. But everything is through Grounded Souls now.
All right. I'm definitely going to go check that out. I'm definitely going to look at that.
We should hear more from the parade. I love this song. Of the songs you sent over, this may have been my favorite because it's got a little more of that bluesy feel, which I really like. It's a song called "Feelin' Something," and this is a upbeat kind of happy song. So let's hear a little of "Feelin' Something" from the Greg Sover Band.
That's awesome. I love your rhythm section, man. Awesome. Great
Thanks a lot.
playing. Really,
How,
really good.
how-
Drummer's great.
When did you hook up with those guys, Greg? How long has this incarnation of the band been together? How'd you guys meet?
Well, it's been about 6 years now.
Okay.
There was a good friend of ours, Larry Levine, who came to us, and we were. I remember we were looking in between bands, and we were trying to take it to the next level, get the music to sound, better or better quality. And I remember him saying, "There's this guy Gary Lee who wants to play with a new band," and we met Gary Lee, and Gary Lee happened to know Tommy, who's the drummer, and Alan James, who was the guitarist.
Great guitar player.
Great guitar
Alan's
player.
a legend. Alan played with Ken Queter with the Secret Kids. It's just like
Yes.
early on. Just a total legend. You know, you
Yeah.
got him to
Oh,
get a.
yeah.
Did you
Alan
get him to
James
get a
is
cell
one of my
phone?
favorites.
It's like getting a hold of him
James
was
one
always.
of my favorites.
Yeah, he's amazing, man.
Yes. So he knew those guys, and it's been a blessing playing with those guys, because you end up thinking you're one of the best, and then you have people who can kind of humble you and make you say to yourself, you have to get a little bit better. So those three guys brought my musicianship up a whole lot. So respect to those guys.
Was that something that was always important to you to be kind of part of it? Obviously, you're the leader, it's your name in the title, but you're part of a band as well. It's the Greg Sover Band. It's not just Greg Sover. Was that important to you to be kind of have that band atmosphere and to be part of that kind of family, like, atmosphere that a band brings?
Yes, very important, because especially when they're elevating you, you kind of want to take that along with you, and show them that we're in this together. We're a family in here. It's not just the Greg Silver show. It's all of our shows, and if one link is gone, it's not gonna make any more sense. So it's definitely important to show that it's a family thing going on right now.
Right. I read a quote from you where you credited the band for kind of adding a Philly touch and some dynamics to your playing. That you had said you were more, when you first started, you were just straight up loud guitar, and then the band kind of helped bring out the dynamics in your playing. Is that
Nice?
Yes, that's very true. At one time, remember earlier we were speaking about how Jimi Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan influenced me a whole lot. So I've seen them, and those guys were in trios pretty much. So, and I had to learn that the music that I write is not so. It should be very dynamic, and there's choruses and verses and bridges and things like that. So I don't think music like that is enough for a trio to carry. And of course you can do it, but I think it should have different elements and different textures and things like that. To just elevate the music, make it sound better. And dynamics is so important in music. It's not just it's not just rah rah all the time.
It's so important.
Yeah, you talk about writing, Greg. The song "Wake Up," which we played earlier, I know you've described as kind of explaining what it's like to walk in the shoes of a black person in contemporary America. So you're dealing with heavier topics, and then I know there's another song on the EP called "It's Never Too Late," which I know is kind of a tribute to your late mother. Correct.
Yes.
So what, as far as songwriting, is that something you did from the time that you started playing guitar? Did that come later?
Yes. That was, I would say, as soon as I started putting pen to paper, it was all about getting a certain message, and that's where Bob Marley comes in at. Bob Marley wasn't he just didn't write songs. There was a message he was trying to put out, a positive message. Right. So a lot of music are trying to put out some message, but Bob Marley was a positive message, and it was more not trying to sound or preachy. I felt like Bob Marley was he found the fine middle where you can enjoy his music, but then listen to it and say, "Wow, he's really saying something." Yeah. Because you don't want preachy music. Right. And that's just not my style, and I don't want to preach to anybody.
Right.
Well, you certainly have a great mentor in music with Bob Marley. That's somebody that I listen to the Marley records. A lot of that stuff. But Bob Marley, it was a prophet. An absolute prophet. Yes. And he was one of those guys that could do that and not sound, like you said, preachy. it's almost that you'd have to do a little searching, but his music was so good that it made you want to search.
Yes.
It was
Yes.
just beautiful, beautiful stuff.
Yes, Bob Marley, big respect to Bob Marley. I know he recently had a birthday, so happy birthday to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that you and you had a song that was a tribute to your mother, which is just I like you. My parents, my mom and dad didn't play any instruments. My father, he was just such a fan, and I I tell you, he used to go to this place called the Lambertville Music Circus, which wasn't too far from where I grew up, and so he'd always invite me. This is before I didn't realize like how important it was to see somebody like Duke Ellington or Count Basie, and I think I passed on a Duke Ellington show once because I was building a fort or something stupid like that. But later on, I realized, like, what were you thinking, But my father was like into that, It's just we don't get to pick our parents, but like you, I feel like I hit the jackpot with my folks, Like I didn't get to pick them, It's just. It's just so I'm so glad when that they were my folks, So I love to hear that you made tribute to your mother and the way you talked about your father. That's it's very cool.
I remember my mom. My mom passed away 2010, so it was very important for me to put it on on this album because it's 10 years later. It was actually October 30th. She passed away on October 5th, so it felt I was eager to put it on this album. So,
same year my mom passed away too.
Yes.
It's deep, man.
It's very deep, very deep. Yes. So we just keep them alive and keep their messages that they pass down to us. And that's the best way to go. So. Big shout out to moms.
Was it hard for your parents being Haitian immigrants when you were a kid? I mean, do you remember? Was there an adjustment period for them living in America, or?
It was. I would say yes, but at the same time, as a kid, it didn't seem like it so much. And with me and my brothers, we knew the language and knew how to adjust already. So they were just kind of following our lead when it came to that. So my mom and dad was both able to find jobs. We lived in Brooklyn, moved to Philly.
Yeah.
So when I was younger, looking at my life now, I realized how we struggled. But when we were younger, it felt like I was rich.
That's great. I love hearing that.
Yeah.
So I see it now, but now. I mean, I appreciate the lessons they gave us.
Getting instruments. Like getting instruments like that. It took me years to realize, like with your story about the sacrifices parents make. Like I got this drum set. I was 16, and I was, I didn't even think about like what my father had to go through to get me this kit. I said this like double bass Rogers kit that I wanted, and my father did everything. He must have worked like overtime, everything to help me get, like family, just what parents do. It's unbelievable.
Tell me about it. We were living in a 1-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn. So I could imagine how tough it was for my dad to go and get me that guitar that he happened to see. Yeah. And I appreciate that so much. And those little things I think are what fuel me to keep this dream alive. Keep it going. So big shout out to our parents who tried. They did really good.
Yeah,
absolutely.
They did.
Hey, Greg, what's coming up in 2021 from you? I mean, hopefully at some point there'll be live shows again. Do you have any kind of plans for this year, music wise?
Yes. Well, so since we had to cut off our recording process from Parade, we're deciding to put Parade 2 out. And it's still the same format, hard hitting music. You'll get the soft music. It's still in the realm of what was going on in this first EP. But we just want to put music out, put a lot of music out, and more music. And I think that's the best thing to do right now. Especially at this time, and I kind of call it a preparation for gigs to come. When gigs come back, I'll have a bunch of material and things like that. So I want to put a lot of music out.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's hear one more track. This is called "Never Gonna Stop," which kind of fits what Greg was just talking about. Not stop putting out music, and this one, really will. It's definitely the Hendrix. You can pick up the Hendrix vibe in this song.
When you create as a band, when you record like that, did you do a lot of pre-production before you went in the studio, or did these songs? Did you show the band the song in the studio? How what's your process?
Well, believe it or not, I use a DAW
Cool.
at the house, so where
Nice.
I play the guitar, of course. I put a bass line on it, and I
Yeah.
put these synthesized drums.
Yeah.
So I kind of have a whole idea,
Right.
and then
Mhm.
I'll take it to Gary, and Gary
Yeah.
might say, "Yeah, that's cool,
Yeah.
but let's see if we could put
Yeah.
this over here and stuff like that." And then the guys, we all played.
Yeah.
We all played in the studio,
Right.
and then I go back and finish my parts up.
Are you a Pro Tools guy, Logic guy? What's your editing? What do you?
I'm a Pro Tools guy.
Awesome.
I'm a Pro Tools guy.
Excellent.
Logic is cool. I know no gripe against Logic,
Yeah.
but I am a Pro Tools guy.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Guilty. Me too.
the whole thing sounds great. Greg, we didn't even talk about your singing. I mean, obviously your guitar playing, your writing,
Really great
but you got a
singer.
great voice too, man.
Wonderful.
Oh,
I mean,
man,
it's
thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
Did you always were you always comfortable behind a microphone singing?
No. At one time, believe it or not, there was a time in my life where I said I would want to be the guitarist in a band. But we never found a singer or anything like that. So I remember putting pen to a paper and saying, "Okay, I'm gonna do this,"
Yeah.
and getting better. So you'll definitely hear a difference between my vocals on this album or this EP compared to the last two. You'll definitely hear a growth because I wasn't as comfortable or as confident in my voice. I knew I could sound good and tone, but at the same time I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
And now I know what I'm doing on purpose, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
It sounds great. You can check again more music from Greg at gregsover.com.
Well,
The EP
really-
also includes a really cool cover of Cream's Politician, which is
Yes.
a great song.
Yeah.
And so yeah, check it out. It's all on Spotify or
I love what you're
iTunes
doing.
or wherever you get
Thanks
music.
a lot, Dave.
Yeah.
Appreciate that, brother. Thank you.
Yeah.
We are fans. We are fans. I remember that was as much as I loved playing with Laura that night, and Freddie and I were playing together. So it's like, and Wally was playing, Steve Butler and Greg Maragos. It was a fun night. and those great singers, it was you were really somebody. When I walked out, I said, "Man, that guy is really something, man." So I just a
Well,
fan.
at
We're
some point,
fans.
I was telling Dave, and I know it's getting a little crowded up on stage.
No,
with
we'll
you,
bring him
but
up.
you got
We're
to
gonna
get
get him-
Greg at an In the Pocket
Yeah,
gig.
God,
You
have
got to
to.
get him up
Have
on
to.
stage for an In the Pocket
Yeah,
show. That would be
yeah.
awesome.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah, Greg, I do this with Wally. I've been doing this really cool gig with this guy Steve Kimmock. I don't know if you know Steve, but he's a great guitar player. And at one point I was thinking, man, you got to get you guys together because he's just a legend in certain circles, but he's a guitar monster, and it would be fun to see you guys play together.
Well,
And Greg Davis actually is a part of that too, which is
Oh,
pretty
yes.
wild.
Oh,
So
big shout out to Greg Davis.
yeah. So I'd love
Greg
to have
Davis,
you
awesome
involved with
guitar
that.
player.
Yeah, you'd be fun. And a great Billy Goodman, who was in Germany too, is just a slide player. But I'd love to have get you out there in the pocket, maybe with Kimmock too. It would be a fun thing to do.
Well, we're all
That
going to
would
be
really cool.
we
That'd be
do-
really cool.
We definitely look forward to seeing more and hearing more from you, Greg, in whatever capacity it is.
Yeah.
Greg, thank you so much for joining us. We couldn't.
It was
we
wonderful.
Really appreciate it. Continued good luck, Greg.
Andy, thank you. Andy, thank you. Dave, thank you. I appreciate this a lot.
My man.
All right, Greg.
All right.
We'll talk to you.
Bye bye.
All right, brother. See you.
See you. Oh, that was great.
He
was cool.
He was great.
He was great.
All right, changing gears just for a minute, Dave. So I understand tomorrow's kind of a big day. Tomorrow, you're officially a senior citizen. Is that how it works
Oh
tomorrow?
man, my gray hair, baby. I am turning 65 tomorrow.
65 years
65
old tomorrow.
years old.
Happy
My
birthday!
God,
Happy
thank you.
birthday!
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, literally. I mean, I think about this. Tomorrow, I am. I have. When I turn 65, I got Medicare. I go to the gym. Use it. Dallin kids me. I got my sneaker. What they call silver sneaker thing that I use to get in. It's wild.
All right.
So
I think.
yeah.
Taylor, are we ready?
What?
Taylor, are we good?
Oh man, surprise.
Yes.
All right, we got a little surprise for you, Dave.
What's that?
It's a little birthday surprise.
Really?
We have a surprise guest on the line.
Get out.
Yes, we do. Is he there?
Ta-da! Yo, Dave, happy birthday.
Yes, it's
Oh
Eric.
my God! Hey, Eric.
Eric.
Oh, surprise! Oh, how about that? Well, thank you, man. Thank you.
Man,
Oh.
right down the street, too.
Oh my God! Well, can you believe? See, I mean, like, I'm sure when Eric and Rob go, Dave's turned 65. They probably go, "Oh my God!" Because I still remember hanging up. Listen to this, Andy. Eric and Rob and I went to Penn Manor Lake. And we were Hobie catting. Like, I don't even know if these guys remember. We barbecued in my mom's garage, and we were Hobie catting out there in the lake. And that's like, we're all really kind of kids at heart. We were just starting with the Hooters and stuff like that. But, oh, Eric, what a nice surprise. I don't know what to say.
Dave's got a huge smile.
Yeah.
It was funny. Rob we had Rob on the last episode,
Yeah.
and he was saying when he first met Dave, he thought he was like 13 years old because he looked so young. And now here he is, 65. So.
65.
I did.
Yo.
I did call him Little Davy.
I
He was
did
Little
call
Davy.
Little Davy. We got Little Davy coming. That's probably going to stick now. Everybody's going to be going, hey, how's Little Davy doing? Oh, Eric, what a nice surprise. Thank you so much, man. I can tell you that
Oh man.
made my day, man. How are you, by the way? Everything good? You all right?
Yeah,
Good.
just
Good.
taking care of business and trying to
Yeah.
get myself
Yeah.
take care of a year's worth of business.
Well, listen, man,
But it's
this
all
guy.
good, man, but this
well,
is your day.
Yeah, well, that's my thing, but I tell you, I was he made a great record. I got a chance to play on some of that record. I'm such a fan. You know it. It's so weird when you play with a guy in your band, and you're like super fan. I've never stopped being a fan of his and Rob's. It's just really cool, and they're my buds. I love you, man.
Likewise, Dave.
Love
Love
you.
you, man.
Love
Have
you.
a happy birthday.
I will, man. Thank you.
All right, thanks for
Yeah.
calling in, Eric.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Wow. Wow. Oh man.
That was I set that Dallin
Oh,
and
thank
Dallin and I
you,
set
man.
that up last
Thank
night.
you.
Yeah, we had
Thank
to do
you.
something special. It's a
Oh,
big
that's really
one.
nice.
It's a big one.
Yeah,
so,
65 is a little bit like 65. That's that. Last year 64 because of the song,
Right.
made you think. But 65 is just like really like, I better get some work done.
Yeah. You're
We get
looking
some-
great, man. You look great,
Thank you.
and obviously you're playing great. So,
Thank you.
I mean,
I
that's
feel good.
that's the most important thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
having fun.
you're playing great, you're having fun,
Yeah.
and
And Andy, I have to tell you, man, these podcasts doing with you, I look forward to them. You've been such a great friend. I can't thank you enough
Oh,
for this whole thing, your friendship. Taylor back there producing. It's been a blast. It's been a blast.
well, thank you, David. As for me as well. Hey, one other thing in the news today, music-wise, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nominees came out today, and Todd Rundgren is once again on the list. Let's hope this year he finally gets
I hope
in.
Todd
I mean,
gets in.
there's 16 nominees, and I think they only picked 5 or 6.
Right.
They're going to announce them in May.
Yeah.
But Todd is on the ballot
Who
again.
else is on the ballot?
I can read the whole list. It's a lot of women this year.
Good.
It's like more than half of
More
them.
than- it
more
should
than half
be.
women. Yeah.
That's good.
So we got, as far as the women, Carole King. I can't believe Carole King's not in there already.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got Carole King, Tina Turner, who's in with Ike, but
Yeah.
she's not in by herself. so Tina's
Maybe
on
she won't get in. What are you kidding me?
yeah. So you got Carole King and Tina Turner, Kate Bush,
Wow.
Mary J. Blige, Shaka Khan. She's been on the ballot before.
Right.
Dionne Warwick is on the
Right.
ballot as well. I think that's all the women. Then the other nominees I mentioned.
No
Todd.
Cindy?
Nah, Cindy's not on there. Pat Benatar's not on the ballot. I think
Wow.
Pat was on last year. She's not on the ballot this
Wow.
year. But as far as other bands, the modern Foo Fighters are the modern band that's on there.
Oh, wow.
I think this is their first year eligibility. I mean, they'll get in at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, Rage Against the Machine is on there. Devo, Iron Maiden for our metal
Devo,
fans.
Devo was just changed.
Oh, another woman, the Go-Go's. The Go-Go's are on
great.
the ballot this year.
Yeah,
Another female.
We played with them.
Yeah.
Yep.
New York Dolls, LL Cool
Dolls,
J,
yeah.
Fela Kuti. Is that how you pronounce it? Fela Kuti?
Yeah.
Yeah, from Nigeria, right?
Right.
And then I think that's Jay-Z. They nominate somebody from the hip hop world
Yeah.
every year. So,
Right.
but and then of course once again, Little Feat not nominated. They've
Not
never
Little
been
Feat.
nominated. Yeah, which
Well,
is
maybe Todd will get in. It'd be great if Todd said no thanks.
well. Just I mean, this is a show based around Philly music, and nobody's bigger in Philly music than Todd Rundgren. But
He's
his
inspired us all.
his producing, his ability. I mean, first of all, he's a singer songwriter, but producing the stuff he's done in the music world. We said last year it was a joke he didn't get in. Let's hope this is the year. It's a tough ballot
Really?
though. I mean, a lot of these people like Carole King and Tina Turner.
Yeah.
you
But
think
Todd's produced some of the bands the artists that are in.
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Absolutely.
He's
yeah.
produced and made them.
So
Yeah.
so that
some
came
of the biggest
out.
records ever.
So come on, our friend Greg Harris, a Bucks County guy. He's the president
Get
of the
him
Rock and
in.
Roll Hall of Fame. Come on,
Todd.
Greg, get Todd Rundgren in the Hall of Fame this year. Pull some strings.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, Dave, this was great. Greg Sover was
Thanks.
fantastic. He was
He was
a
really
great guest.
great.
Please
Loved
check him
him.
out, gregsover.com.
Yeah.
And happy birthday.
Thank you.
I hope you and Dallin have anything
Thank you.
special planned tomorrow. Or
We do. We actually got some stuff going on. It's gonna be fun.
Cool.
We there was a snowstorm that was supposed to hit us, but it looks like we're dodging that. So we're gonna be able to have a great time.
all
It's gonna
right.
be good.
Well, all right.
Love you, Dal, for that. I
Thanks
love you
again.
too, Andy.
You can just like
And
me.
I love you too.
Thank you to Taylor. Thank
Yeah.
you to Croker Percussion and the
Yes.
School of Rock Mainline, Wildfire Radio, and of course Greg Sover. And thanks to Eric Bazillion from
Yes,
the
thanks,
Hooters
Eric.
for calling in and wishing Dave a happy birthday. It was a nice surprise. And for Dave, I'm Andy. We'll see you next time on In the Pocket.